And we're live, but I like to give it a couple of seconds just to make sure that we are. Hey guys, welcome to Pixel Cherry Ninja channel. Today I have a very special guest with us today. I'm honored and I'm very excited. We have QuangDX from Asobi Tech, which is a publisher for Game Boy games, but one that you're probably more familiar with. I wanted to say Asobi Tech first because I love the Game Boy, and so does Quang, but the Bitmap Bureau. They're most recently working on the Terminator 2D game, so we can get your questions in there. The reason that you're seeing Mario Land on there is because we both love the Game Boy DMG, and I wanted to have a bit of eye candy for you. So, Quang, say hello to the people, introduce yourself, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the stream.
Hey there, yeah, thanks a lot for having us along. I'm QuangDX, and I've been making games since I was 10 years old for a very long time. Yeah, we make stuff for the Game Boy. I guess we could call it, we make new games for old systems.
And that is what we love on here. Like, I'm always discovering new games that were out years and years ago, but I'm also loving all the new games new games coming out for old systems. Sorry, it gets a little bit confusing. So, right, you started when you were 10, right? Before I show your most recent Game Boy development, before we move on to the bigger stuff, holy heck, man, what the heck were you doing when you were 10? I was sucking lollipops and riding swings and you were making games? Tell us a bit more about that, man.
Yeah, so back in the days, my dad got us a ZX Spectrum. It's one of those computers back in the days, 8-bit computers that had BASIC built into it, and when you turn the computer on, you get a basic prompt and you can type stuff into it, and stuff will happen on the screen. And then it's one of those things where I read the manual, I read books, I read magazines, I went to the library. Remember those? We went to physical libraries, got books out, and just learned everything I could learn about making stuff happen on a computer.
Wow, that is insane. So at the Spectrum, so for anyone that's not familiar with the Spectrum, there was, so in the UK, me and Quang are roughly around the same age, but obviously when he was growing up with a Spectrum, I had the Commodore 64 more. I had access to a Spectrum. It was very popular in the UK. And it was like, so the C64 stuff looked better, but the Spectrum seemed to get all the games. It was very popular in the UK. So Quang, which one did you have? Did you have the cute looking 48K one, or did you have the 128? I'm not even going to ask if you had the disk drive version, because I never knew anyone that had that. Everyone I knew had the freaking tape one. So 48K or 128K?
Yeah, so we came in a little bit later, so I kind of missed the boom a little bit. So we started with the ZX 128K plus 2, which is the tape drive built in, the grey one.
Yep. Okay. Yep. I don't remember it with a separate tape drive, apart from the 48K one. Actually, that the tape drive was separate. The 128 one was the one with a tape deck built in. So that's freaking amazing. What's really cool is I'm very heavily into FPGA gaming, but we've got FPGA developers. I think Mazamars, the guy who's now kind of been, we found that he's the guy that done the N64 core for analog on the upcoming 3D. He's kind of began his life, I think, on a Commodore 64. Wicker Wacker, a developer for the Mr. FPGA cores, they kind of began their journey. It may have been a Spectrum as well. So really interesting how a lot of people began their life on that. And that's more of the curious, because I had that stuff and all I was interested in was how the heck do I boot up games? So, you know, opportunities wasted there on me where you guys were actually learning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring your game up on screen. So talk us a little bit about this. So tell us about your journey, how you got into the development, what your first releases were. I've got your itch.io page. We'll bring that up in a second. But this one over here, I did a video on it. So just let my introduction run. I've kind of queued the video in here. And so this game here is a game called Defused, right? And I played it and I very much like it. It's like a cross between like a, what is it? Like a turn-based Bomberman. Is that what you described it as? Because it's definitely got a Bomberman about it, and it reminds us of I said Wally, but then you kind of reminded me Short Circuit, and I was disappointed in myself because I should have said Short Circuit originally, because I go back that way. So tell us about this game, how you got into it, and tell us specifically about how it runs on the DMG and the Color, because you kind of get both versions in the same ROM.
Yeah, that's a lot to go through there. The game. So this is our second official Game Boy release. Before that, it was Super Jetpack DX, which is a remake of an old Spectrum game. The robot, actually talking about, our artist came up with I think 9 robot designs originally. We chose which was our favorite. Thief stood out as our favorite. You know, it's got influences there from Wally, from Short Circuit, and a bunch of other things as well. And we use some of the other designs for his friends who you rescue throughout the game. The game itself, as you say, it's a turn-based logic puzzle game, kind of a mixture between, I guess, Minesweeper meets Inverse Bomberman, because you're collecting bombs rather than setting the bombs down. And normally, I grew up making arcade-style games, so very fast, very quick, twitchy games that you need good reflexes to play. But a friend of mine, they don't have great control of their hands, and they said, I want to support you, Quang, and I love what you do, but I can't play any of your games. They're too difficult for me to play because I don't have the motor ability. So I said, let me see what I can do in terms of making a game that anyone can play. And so a big part of making Diffused was making sure it's accessible to everyone by making it turn-based, making it simple up, down, left, right movements, no buttons. We made it super accessible for everyone there.
That's actually really, really cool, because this is the type of game that, for example, you could play at work if you could get away with it. You could have like a handheld or whatever device you're playing on, because we have plenty of choices. And if you put your device down or you move away from it, it stays in exactly the same place. Nothing happens unless you move. So that's a really, really cool thing about that, man. Like it's absolutely banging. So also, like when you get the ROM, is it the same ROM or do you get the different ROMs? I can't remember, because you've got the DMG one. I love DMG, what we're seeing on screen now. And is it the same ROM that works on the Game Boy Color as a Game Boy Color ROM and on a Game Boy DMG as DMG, or is it two separate ROMs? Just remind us of that, please.
Yeah, so it's actually the same ROM. It's like how in the old days you'd get the black cartridges when you bought Game Boy games. So some stuff like RTAT DX, Tetris DX, and a few other games will run on on the DMG black and white and the color as well. And to do that, you have to make sure when you're programming the game that you don't use any of the special color features without checking it on the color first. You have to make sure any commands you call to the color are done only on the color system. So your graphics have to make sure they work in the 4 shades. So our artist makes sure he draws them first in black and white, and then we colorize them afterwards. So that's definitely a process of making sure it works on both systems. And for me, it's because I feel like starting with the Game Boy, there's enough of an audience that people are just playing black and white Game Boy games, and especially with the modding scene as well. I think the modding scene for the Game Boy, the original Game Boy, is actually bigger than the color Game Boy scene. So making sure it's works on more systems, I think is great.
Are we talking the Game Boy DMG modding scene is bigger than the color? I didn't know that. I would have been the other way around.
Possibly it's changed since then, but I know when I started making games this time around, so we did Jetpack DX in 2000. Back then, everyone was modding the older Game Boy because I guess because they were bigger and chunkier, so they're easier to mod and less fiddly than the Game Boy Color.
Yeah, I have a modded Game Boy DMG. It's my favorite one. I absolutely love it. I mean, to be honest, I use my analog pocket more than anything else when it comes to, but that's just because of laziness. It's got everything on it and it's easy to carry. But I do like, so out of the Game Boys, my favorite two, like if I put them in order, it's Game Boy DMG, then it's Game Boy Advance, and then after that it's Game Boy Color. Like I do like the Game Boy Color. I played it, but the love that I have for the DMG is just unparalleled. And obviously the Game Boy Advance, the original shape one, I just freaking love that device, man. What a darn game. What a darn system. So what are some of your favorite games that on the actual Game Boy that you kind of grew up playing? Because you do have a big love for it.
Oh, for sure. The Game Boy is one of the systems where it was the first system. So I have two brothers, and the Game Boy was the first system that was purely just mine. And with it being portable, you get to take it everywhere with you, and it's one of those things where you get a very personal connection with it. When I bought it, it came with Tetris, of course, and Tetris is probably by far my favorite game of all time, especially because of the Game Boy version. And I guess I played a lot of Super Mario Land, the first one. I'm actually played much of the second one.
Have you played the second one? Because I smashed the first one, but I never really played the second one. Did you play the second one as well? Oh, right, you're the same, right? So there was.
The time kind of changed. The time kind of changed it because by the time the second one was out, I was more exploring game development a lot more. So I guess I played less.
Yeah, so there was a bunch of games and they were kind of around. And I remember getting R-Type for mine. I had Bureau Fighter. Gargoyle's Quest was a game lots and lots of people had.
Great game, great game.
DuckTales, yeah, DuckTales. That was a hard game though, man. That was a difficult darn game to play. A really, really good game. And I like some of the sequels that came out after and how it's all kind of mixed in the Ghost and Goblins or Ghouls and Ghost world. So that's freaking amazing, man. So you got into that. But Tetris, I never would have thought I would have liked the puzzle game. But obviously when you bought a Game Boy and you got Tetris with it, you got those earphones. The first earphones are probably owned that weren't part of a Walkman, with a spongy over the head thing.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. But let's have a look at your web pages a second. Right, okay, so that's your Defuse game. So if anyone wants it, guys, I've left a link to this as a sticky in the kind of live chat comments. So if you want to have a look at that, you can buy a physical version of that. So Defuse is out there. You get a really, really cool manual as well, just like you did back in the day. And if we go over to your itch.io page, do you want to talk us through some of the games that you've got on here? So you've got Super Jetpack DX, which is the first game you made, right? Is that correct? You just said that earlier? Okay, so have we got screenshots on here? Let's have a look. Let's kind of go on here. Okay. And what game did you say this was like? Jet Set Willy. It reminds me of Drop Zone a bit, a game that I used to play on the C64. So what was the inspiration behind it?
So this is a game built on a game called Jetpack with the C, ending with the C, Jetpack. And Jetpack's made by a company called Ultimate Play the Game, which we now know is Rare.
Okay.
In the very early games, if you buy the Rare collection,
I think I remember seeing it on there, but I don't recall it much because the one of the first games I played that looked like this, I think it was on the Atari 800 actually, was a game called Drop Zone. So whenever I see it, I think, that looks like Drop Zone. So that's kind of like hard coded in my brain now. Okay, that's super interesting. And then you've got this one here.
Sorry, I should say Jetpack was actually the very first ZX Spectrum game I ever saw. We visited a friend's house and they had a Spectrum run and they were running Jetpack, and it was like seeing an arcade game but for your home, and it just it blew me away. So it really did capture my imagination for video games.
It was crazy back then, the days before the internet, and you were excited. If your parents took you out somewhere and they had, or like your dad's friend or like your dad's friend's kid had something, you'd be like, what have you got there? And you'd come and you'd play something, and then you'd tell all your school friends, you're like, I went here and I saw this game Jetpack, it was mind blowing. And man, those days were nuts, man. So talk us through the other games here. So we go O.M.A.Hei-Long Castle. So this is a Windows game. Okay, that looks all right. That looks like a dungeon crawl, and it reminds me a little bit of Space Harrier, the way that whatever the heck that is flying around.
So this is O.M.A.Hei-Long Castle. It was built off the back of a game jam, something called Castle Game Jam, was where you make a game in a short amount of time. It was held in the castle in Sweden. We were there for a week.
Oh wow!
To make a game, and it's basically based off the bonus stage from Space Harrier. So if you know that, you jump on the back of Uriah, the dragon there, and you smash through things.
Cool.
That was the concept for it.
Look, there you go. Space Harrier came to mind, and that's the first time I'm seeing this game. So you know what? Whatever you wanted to achieve, you achieved it with this game. It looks really, really good. I might have to try this out after. Looks like a fun time. Okay, what's this? Kinochi Ninja Revenge. So you did some games for Windows as well, so I can see some are compatible with a Mac as well. So what was the direction of doing stuff for the Window? Because obviously they are retro inspired instead of doing them for like a retro device like the Game Boy.
Yeah, so Kunichi here is it's also a game jam. So stuff that we do for Windows is generally for game jams. We have a very short amount of time. So when you're coding for Windows, you can be a lot more looser with your coding and design, because the resources are there. Whereas if you're coding for the Game Boy or the Mega Drive or some of that, you have to be a lot more careful. It takes a lot more time to make games. So Kunichi was made in 2 days.
Wow. Okay. I've seen a lot of those game jams. They are really, really interesting, and sometimes you get fully fledged games out of there that look like they would have taken a long time to make. So very, very interesting. And then we've got this one here, the Moon Conspiracy, which is Is that like a Defender type of game, or?
Yeah. It has roots in Defender. Basically, you're a robot that can transform with being a robot and being a flying ship, and you can rescue your friends. It's just a little mini shoot 'em up with a boss fight, and end of it. Again, this was for another game jam, the Indie Speedrun number 3. I believe we came second for this one.
Nice. And there was more than 2 people that entered, yeah?
Yes.
All right, cool. Because whenever I say I come second, there's usually two people involved. But my mum doesn't know that, so all good. Hicks of Rage. Okay, this looks good. Birthday present. Okay, this is blatantly based on Street. So, oh my gosh, Hicks of Rage, right? Is that friends of yours there as well that you've put in the game now?
So up front of there, yeah, it's our friend Andrew Hickabom. He's a 3D model artist. He's done stuff for Guitar Hero, My Little Pony, and a few other things like that. Basically, it's for his birthday. I'm on the left hand side there. On the right hand side is one of his own original creation characters.
Ah, right.
Basically,
Okay.
we did his graphics, his characters, and we made his Situation is his favorite game. So we made a version of the game with him and the characters in it.
Oh, dude, that is freaking quality, man. Love that. Absolutely amazing. Right. Let's move on, and let's talk a little bit about the Bitmap Bureau now. So I'll bring up one of their games with Tetris in the background. This is obviously Xenocrisis. It's probably what put Bitmap Bureau on the map for me. I remember going to a London Games Market a few years back. I took my boys there with me, and the guys were there, and they were really, really cool. And they had this running on the Neo Geo, and my kids played there, and it was really, really good. So tell us about how long you've been there, what it's like working there, what projects you've worked on, and obviously what you're allowed to share. We don't want you to share anything if you're not allowed to share it. So, tell us a little bit about that, how you got into it. Knock yourself out, Quang.
Sure. Yeah, there's the Bitmap Bureau. They're cool guys. I've been working with them now for 18 months. Yeah, about 18 months. We talked about working together previously, maybe for about 2 years, I think. But they never had the funding to bring me on because so it's run by Mike Tucker and Matthew Cope, and they're amazing guys. They're making amazing games. And Xenocrisis being one of them. So I ran into them at a show where we were both showcasing our games at the time. I think I was showing Mammoth Castle and they were showing Xenocrisis. And we got talking about retro stuff, and we talked about how much we love retro, and a lot of our sensibilities aligned really well. And we did, and as time went on, we were like, we should really work together. We have very similar sensibilities, so we're making arcade, fast arcade games. And yeah, we wanted to work together for a long time. And then finally, when Terminator 2D came along, the publisher gave them budget to bring on another designer, and they asked me to join them for that. And yeah, so I've been working with them for the last 18 months for full time.
Okay, and is Terminator the only project that you've worked on, or have you like, are you involved in, say, like the He-Man game that's coming out or anything else?
So the majority of my work here has been Terminator 2D at the moment. I've had a little touch in He-Man during the design phase, but I think I will probably be asked to come in more near the end for polish and things like that. And then there's a couple of other projects which I can't talk about, which we've been working on.
Okay, now that's exciting. So, and your title is lead game tech designer. Is that correct? Have I got it right, or
Lead technical game designer.
the lead technical game designer? Okay, and what does that actually like involve? So, what is your main task? Tell us, layman, explain it to us like we're 10, and if we don't understand, you can explain
Sure.
it to us like we're 5.
Yeah, so the technical part of my role is that I code, and it means I get to code parts of the game as well. We do have coders that just do coding in the game, and some of the projects. And my main role is gameplay design. So it's looking at anything from how boss fights happen, how levels are laid out, how control is made, and because it's quite a small team, we cover majority of aspects. The bigger the team gets, the more smaller the roles get, and what you do in the game gets. But with Terminator 2D, I went through the game with Mike, and we looked at where we could improve things, smooth the user experience over, how we could squeeze more bits from the movie into the game. It was really varied. The games are, I would say, Mike's babies. Mike it's incredible. Like, he works so hard, and he's a genius at making great playing games. But I think with me coming with a slightly different viewpoint, I get to I guess, refine those decisions and choices he makes in the games, and we can discuss whether it's better or worse for the game to make certain changes.
Got you. And Terminator. Let's bring that up on screen actually. So Terminator's coming out. It's October the 31st, right? That's when it's coming out, if I remember the date correctly.
Yeah,
Dude, it looks amazing. That kind of reminds me of like the way the characters move and some of it reminds me a little bit of an Amiga game. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It looks like that bit there just reminds me of Contra. That's blatantly taken out of Contra 3. But yeah, it reminds me of like if the Amiga had the best possible arcade game. It's just, I think it's the art direction. It reminds me a lot of that stuff there. There we've got a little bit of Freddy Krueger there. I can't remember which one it was, but when he's going in there. So there's a lot of like kind of hinted Easter egg moments that we've found in there as well. But tell us more about the game, man. What the heck? It looks amazing. It looks like a dream come true. You know, just the scenes there where you've got Arnie where he first lands and he's like, "Give me your clothes and your motorbike." Okay, there's the Freddy one that we kind of spoke of, but yeah, man, it's freaking amazing. And was that the T2000? Is that, or the T1000? I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah.
T1000. Again, this here looks like a boss battle. It just looks freaking amazing, man. Really can't wait for this. So are you guys on track for this releasing on October the 31st? Is it tight, or is there a potential of another delay?
Graphically, you said, yeah, it has some Amiga roots in it. Our lead artist, art director on this is Henk Niebel, and he made games for the Amiga back in the day. So he set the tone for the graphic style of the game.
Okay, so it really does. It really does. So did you think that as well? Does it look Amiga-ish to you? Did you have an Amiga back in the day?
So actually, I had an Atari ST, which was the other 16-bit computer of the day. You know, there were a lot of similarities there. I would say the look we currently go for is closer to a Neo Geo.
Okay.
Because the level of animation, the frames of animation, and the smoothness of things, and the color popping, I would say it's closer to a Neo Geo these days.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. It's almost like, say, you could say like Amiga and Neo Geo inspired, because the animation for this, like watching this in action, just looks amazing. And a question here: are we going to get? So it's coming out for everything, isn't it? It's coming out for the Switch, obviously the Switch 2, PS4, PS5, and the Xbox, and obviously PC via Steam. Is this going to run at 60 FPS on the Nintendo Switch? Because I'm very disappointed with the recent release of Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, and to find out it runs at 30 FPS, and certain sections of the game it actually drops below that. Please tell me it's a 60 FPS Switch game.
So for the Switch port, Matt's looking after that at the moment, and I'm pretty sure we're on track for 60 FPS throughout the game. I would have to double check with him though. He's I said that I've not actually tested the Switch port myself.
Okay.
So I couldn't tell you. I know that's definitely what they're aiming for.
Yeah, no, I get that, because the other releases are tight, man. I've got them for the Switch. That's how I kind of first played Xenocrisis. But as well as that, like there was this one here which I really like Final Vendetta. It's got a good movement to it. It's a very good game. I think the Neo Geo version's either out or it's coming out soon. Hopefully there'll be a ROM available to purchase for that as well, so I can play it on my devices like a Mr. FPGA. But okay, that's good to know. Hopefully that'll be like a full-fledged 60, because that's one thing I like about the Switch. I like a handheld gaming device. And I want stuff like the 2D stuff on there. I want it to be as good as any of the other machines out there. You know, with 3D, okay, I expect it to be 30 or less, so that's all good. Okay, now, what's next? Okay, man, tell us about He-Man, because this thing here has. Did you watch He-Man as a kid?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I grew up watching a lot of the 80s and 90s cartoons.
Dude, tell us about this. I'm going to run the advert, right, from Limited Run Games. But heck, look at this. This was like the TV advert we had where they pull the arm back and he knocks him down and the kids are playing. So just tell us whatever you can about He-Man, man. He-Man, man.
Well, the thing is, so He-Man is from Limited Run Games. They approached the Bitmap Bureau to do the game for it. After seeing Final Vendetta. and the beat 'em up they made there. It's like I know a lot of hardcore gamers love Final Vendetta for how difficult it is as a beat 'em up. And Mike, again, it's Mike's baby. Mike did a great job putting Final Vendetta together. And yeah, Limit Run saw that Bitmap Bureau were capable of making a good beat 'em up, and requested them to do that. What can I talk about? Not much, to be honest. Limited Run Games, I said it's their project, so they kind of handle the marketing side and development side. If you were lucky enough to go to Gamescom, you would see the demo there, or PAX East or West. Okay, one of the PAX. I always forget which one it is. But the demo was there also to play, and I believe people enjoyed it. People have been enjoying the demo that's been out there. But I don't think I can say much more than that.
Yeah. Okay. Do we know if it's coming out this year or next year? I can't remember if it was. The trailer says coming soon. Is this going to be a 2025 or 2026 release?
We're in September now.
Oh no,
I don't know.
It's nearly the end of the year, to be honest. It's probably 2026.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm thinking we've still got a long time to go for 2025. So hopefully it will come out. But look, it just looks wicked. This is like, so. There's a few games I'm excited about. This is one of them. I like beat 'em ups because it's an arcade style game. I used to play them. I do like the newer ones. I really like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, Streets of Rage 4 is a freaking masterpiece. So we've had some good ones out there. Final Vendetta being another great one. But this one just looks like a childhood dream come true. The only thing that I'll ask after is, man, like, we need Thundercats, but the He-Man and the other one, Marvel's Cosmic Invasion, are two that I'm so looking forward to. Like instant purchases, man, just have to be. And the good thing is I don't have a lot of time to play games, but when it comes to beat 'em ups, yeah, I can find the time, because you can pick up, play for 30 minutes, not play for another week and come back and do it. So yeah, man, freaking damn, it's looking good.
Yeah. So this comes down to the pixel artists on this game. So Hank again is leading direction on this. But we have some of the best pixel artists. We've scoured the internet, and they're working on it. And some are doing character art, enemies, bosses, and then the backgrounds as well. And we're all fans of He-Man, so we do our research, and it's one of the things where I think when you have love for the source material, it really shines through, and the attention to detail is so important in terms of the characters and the movesets and things like that. Everything has to be okayed by Mattel, because it's Mattel's license.
Okay.
So they check everything and make sure it's within canon, and it's something they're happy with. But yeah, it's looking amazing.
Yeah, you've proper captured that old school vibe on this, man. It just looks wicked. It looks like a childhood dream come true. Like I say, the next thing that I would just love to see is Thundercats, because as much as I liked He-Man, Thundercats came out a few years later, because I remember watching He-Man when I was young, and I love Thundercats as well. But man, it just looks freaking amazing. What else have we got here?
Yeah,
that's.
I would agree. I would think Thundercats is a better cartoon than He-Man. We just need someone to come along and handle the license to work with it, because again, with a lot of these things, Terminator 2, the He-Man, any game that's licensed, there's a cost attached to it, and someone has to front that cost, and someone has to go, hey, we want a new, I don't know, a new Gummy Bears game. It's one thing where someone has to cover it.
Wow. Okay. Well, hopefully that will happen. Hopefully whoever's got the license for Thundercats has a look and says, wow, like, this is freaking amazing. Like, let's get a Thundercats game out there, because people are motivated by money, and He-Man now just looks like it's gonna sell. Marvel's Cosmic Invasion is gonna sell. Turtles done really well. Streets of Rage 4 done really well. So there's a lot of these older people that will pay and go for this game. So yeah, man, that's freaking amazing. So so obviously you grew up in London as well. I grew up in London. We've got a little bit of a story here of how me and Quang kind of got talking. So I've got a friend who's an exceptionally good mod. Like, this guy can mod anything, absolutely amazing. So when like the screen on my PSP's damaged, he's like, Pixel, don't be a big baby and cry. Just order a new screen and get me the instructions of how to do it. I'll do it for you. You know, if you want something HDMI modded, if you need something fixed, the more difficult it is, the more of a challenge it is. And this is a friend of mine that I've known for years. And he said to me, oh, you're doing a channel. My cousin's into retro gaming. And he kind of put me on. He said, oh, this is my cousin. Here's the social. So I then sent Quang a message on, I think, X saying, yo, man, how you doing? I'm like Simon's friend. Oh, sorry. I never meant to say the name there. I'm your cousin's friend. And I reached out and Quang got back to me and was like, yeah, man, like, yeah, nice to meet you or whatever. And then I spoke to Quang's cousin and I was like, yeah, man, I reached out. What did Quang say? And he was like, oh yeah, some weird guy contacted me, but yeah, he sounds all right. And that's how we kind of got in contact. So yeah, man, that was freaking amazing. What a small world.
Yeah, definitely a small world. Like, so we grew up in the same ends, East London mostly, and I remember trying to find since when arcades were everywhere. You would go to like a chip shop and the arcades would be there. You go to a minicab office and arcades would be there. You know the swimming pool, the ice rink, just video shops. Anywhere they could put an arcade machine, there would be an arcade machine. And I grew up playing as many arcades as I could.
Wow, so you grew up in the arcade. So I was. So what were your main arcade games that you really like playing? Like, what were your main ones? What were some of your top ones? Name like your top 5 arcade games that you kind of played growing up. Don't want to put you on the spot, but they don't have to be top 5, just 5 arcade games, you know?
Sure. I played a lot of R-Type. I love R-Type to bits. It's incredible. The design on that is amazing. Actually, as we see coming up now, Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 2 is probably my second favorite game of all time after Tetris.
Wow.
And I spent a countless amount of time and money playing Street Fighter 2. What my mum doesn't know is all my bus money and all my lunch money would go into Street Fighter 2. So I would say I could get the bus home, or I could have another game of Street Fighter 2, and it would always be another game of Street Fighter 2, and I would walk home.
Yeah, that's, that was the life back then. And like you said, they were everywhere. So I was brought up in North London, not too far from Walthamstow, in an area called Finsbury Park. And it was the same thing. Arcade machines were everywhere. There were in all the chip shops, kebab shops, minicab stations, news agents. Like, they were freaking like absolutely everywhere. And just like you, like, so one school I went to was close to my house. I didn't get bus fare, unfortunately. There was one I went that was further from my house and I got bus fare. And it was the same thing. It was like, I used to get the bus in the morning, but on the way back, it was a downhill walk. So it was quite an easy walk. And there were arcades on the way home. So we used to walk back and do that. But there was another one as well. Like, growing up, I don't know if you remember, like, so like, my mum brought us up as a single parent for quite a long time. And we used to get like these government issued lunch vouchers or whatever they were. Like, so it was a ticket that you got. So when you went and got your lunch, you used to present your ticket, and that meant you never had to pay. And the value of them used to be 70 pence. But the value of selling those to someone else that wanted to buy lunch was 50 pence. And back in the day, you could get, 20p a credit was the normal then. But if you wanted to play one game, you could get free credits on that. So what I used to do was sell that lunch ticket, go to my buddy Chris's house, who's like, there was a chip shop like 30 seconds from his house. So we used to eat a sandwich at Chris's house and then spend that money on arcade machines, man.
Amazing.
Absolutely amazing. So where were you around Walthamstow, like High Street then? Was that your main jam? Was that where you were, or was it different areas around there? Because I think there's an area called Wood Street that was known for having like arcade machines as well.
Yeah, so I actually grew up in Hackney.
Okay.
Before moving to the Leighton Walthamstow area. And yeah, anywhere there was an arcade, we would go find it. And as you say, in Finsbury Park, you had a Rowan's bowling alley, which had a great selection of arcades in the back.
Yeah, that was my go-to, That was my go-to. I used to go there a lot. I actually went there, I've been there in like the last year. I've taken my kids there. It's not the same. They play like the air hockey stuff there. No. But yeah, that's where I first. So in Rowan's, I used to go there a lot. They had, when you kind of walk downstairs, you had Wrestle War there. I really used to like playing Special Criminal Investigation down there, SCI. They had the machine of that in there. They had, what was that game? Act Fencer. That was bloody difficult. They had that down there as well. But they generally had like a large selection of games.
Good selection.
a very, very good selection. And that's where I first, so that was the only place I knew that had Shadow Dancer. Do you remember when you went in, you went upstairs where they had the other bowling alley, and it was that dark room. They had like, it was either just Shadow Dancer up there or another couple of machines, but that's where I used to go and play Shadow Dancer. But it's still going, Rowan's, man. It's still out there. It's still going strong from what I can see. What else?
I would also go to. Sorry, I would also go to things like going to Central, and go to Trocadero, of course, Funland there, and then when it got bigger, it became Sega World, and going through the 5 levels of Sega World, incredible. They had Namco Wonder Park, Piccadilly Circus before it moved to.
Waterloo, was it? I think it moved to Waterloo.
Yeah, by the embankment. But yeah, before that, it used to be in Piccadilly Circus, and it's great. And then obviously you had Las Vegas.
Yeah, that was by Good Street's Tube Station. Was that one there?
And Good Street, that's Casino Leisure by Good
Casino,
Street.
That's it.
But yeah, back then I was under 18, and a lot of those places you had to be over 18, so you'd sneak in, try to play the games, and try not to get chucked out.
But you know what? It was so
good games.
It was so big back then. A lot of them used to have the gambling part separated from the games because all the kids would go in and spend their money. I remember going to Central London. Central London was a treat. Trocadero was a treat. You'd see some of the bigger games there. You'd see like the new Spider-Man Sega System 18 game up there. You'd see all that stuff there. I'm going to tell you something really, really funny, and let me know if you've done this. Right, you're not going to get into any legal trouble for it. But one of the schools I went to was a school called Highbury Grove. So it was near Rowan's. If you go, there's Blackstock Road. You go up that hill, and there was a school there called Highbury Grove. Now, what happened there is on Blackstock Road, there was like a Chinese-owned hardware store, and in this hardware store, they sold rolls of sticky foil. Now, this a meter of the sticky foil must have been like, you know what I'm getting, you know where I'm going with this. I can tell now straight away. You know. There you go. You know. So, guys, for anyone out there, right? So this is. I'm really glad I'm speaking to you, Quang. Right. So, what we used to do is we used to get. So the 10 pence coin, the British 10 pence coin then, it felt like you had money. It was a big coin. It was a kind of coin that you would think you'd ride a horse and flick it at peasants. It really felt like you had money. Now the 50 pence coin, and the 10 pence coin, they weren't that far apart. There was just a small difference in weight. Someone actually figured out that if you get this one-sided sticky foil and you cover one side of the 10 pence piece and you put it around the edge of the coin with none of it going over to the other side, one side completely covered and the edge covered, and then what you do is you kind of run the edges on a surface and you make like a pentagonal shape, so it mimics a 50 pence piece. That there would be the exact weight that would work in an arcade machine as 50 pence. So essentially, you 5x your money. When you went arcade with £1, you had £5. Guys, back then that was enough to spend a day in the arcade. So did you buy it from the same place, by the way? Did you buy it from that Chinese hardware store on Blackstock Road?
I actually remember where I got I think some kid in school would sell it, like resell it. He would come in and go, we think so. I don't know exactly where it came from. I just remember kids selling it. I didn't do it too often myself. Actually, let me say, I don't even remember at one point, if the arcade machine wasn't grounded properly, you could short circuit it. Yes. And it would spark it, and it would give you credits.
Yes. So here's the thing: no one. You're the only person that's actually mentioned this, right? And the only time the only game that this ever worked on, the only game that we found that wasn't grounded properly was WWF Superstars, right? So what happened is, and someone figured it. And how the heck do people figure this stuff out? I wondered to myself, right? Let me just bring up WWF Superstars while we talk about this, right? So I don't know how someone figured this out, guys. So what we're talking about here is, do you know, when you're lighting a cooker, you've got like this lighter, and it comes with like a little, it's almost like a mini taser. You get like a little line of electricity in there, and you put that on the key slot for it, and some games would react weird to it, like if they weren't grounded properly. And this game here, WWF Superstars, just ran up to 99 credits. And I remember the guy in the chip shop on Hanley Road, Phil's chip shop, was like, wow, I'm going to make a killing today. This game's smashing it. And then he realized the kids were scamming it. Oh man, he put a stop to that. But yeah, that was freaking amazing, man. Absolutely amazing. So these were the scam tactics back in the day. But going back to those silver coins that we used to foil line up, so we used to do it so much in Rowan's, and we must have been like 12, 13, 14 maximum at the time. The staff obviously clocked on that someone's doing them, because when they're emptying the machines, they're just getting these foil lined coins. But here's the logic behind it, right? If we had £1, we would have spent the whole £1. So they still would have got the money. The only thing is they would have had to remove that sticker off there before they went to the bank. So we and a friend of mine were actually foiling. So like, you know, when people get older and you work in a bar or something, there's people getting in the toilet and they're in there with a foil, a teaspoon and an injection, but they're doing something else. We were there as kids. We had this coin. We had it foil lined, and what the telltale sign was, we were rubbing it on the toilet wall. So it was kind of leaving marks there. And yeah, me and a friend got caught, and I actually got banned from Rowan's. So I stopped going Rowan's until I became an adult. Initially I couldn't go there again. And another thing about Rowan's was, back then age checks weren't really done. So what used to happen there is we used to go there from school when we were like 15, 16, and we used to celebrate a pretend 18th birthday, so all the kids that wanted to get alcohol could get it out there. So that's quite nuts, man.
Amazing.
So how
I remember Rowan's was so good, and I remember playing at the back they expanded it. There was a huge row of stand-up cabs. And then further back, they had the pool tables, and they had the experience machines, like the full-size driving cabs and things like that. And I saw stuff like that from Daytona, Outrun 2, the motorbike games, Manx TT, and then in the standing cabs. It was just great to go in every month or so, and then see which games had changed, which new games were coming in. And I got to see so many games because of Rowan's. It was such a good memory.
It was a great place. And here's the funny thing: I didn't realize I met a bunch of younger guys at my work from Manor House, which is an area down the road. They were like, yeah, like we go Rowan's on a Saturday night. I was like, what, really? Like, and they were like, yeah, it's also like a bar and all this stuff. But obviously, we weren't interested in that side then. So I actually went to one, like, I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago, and it was jamming, man. I had a DJ in there. I was like, wow, this is a fully blown night. So yeah, they had the dance floor, everything out there. I was blown away by that, man. What a venue! And back then it used to be 50p to get in, and now they've now it's not much. It's just, I think it's more of a fee to kind of just stop riffraff walking in, and I think it's like £1 or maybe £2 to get in. I think it's £1 if I'm not mistaken. But the arcade machines in there suck now. My kids went in there. They played like the Rabbids. I don't know what it was. It was like a light gun game. They played that on it. They really liked the air hockey, so they played that. And then, you know what happened? They had Super Street Fighter, not Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Super Street Fighter 2. And it was like a widescreen one with washed out colors, so much input lag. But you know what? I put my money in, and I was so hoping, just like in the day, someone came in and was like, oh yeah, I'll challenge you. And we got some stuff going, and I could spam the heck out of them with Sagat and those non-stop tiger shots. But you know what? I put my money in. I beat like 2 or 3 characters. CPU then kicked my ass, and that was the end of it. So yeah, that fantasy of maybe getting a whole crowd going and people playing it just never happened, man.
I think a big thing about playing the arcades is when I play Street Fighter 2, a lot of people nowadays, people will say, "Oh, I was really great at the game back in the day," and you say, "Sure, you were." And you ask them who they played, and they played their friends or their brothers and stuff. And I found out very quickly, you're only as good as the people you play. And so, unless you went to the arcade, unless you went down to Casino Leisure or Las Vegas arcades, you didn't know who you were playing. Back then, only the good players went out to those places to play. So that's where your level would be. You'd have to play people better than you to improve. And so unless you're playing people better than you won't improve. But so beating all your friends and thinking you're good, it really humbles you when you play someone who's been been playing tournaments and things like that, and you realize actually you're not actually that good. But that's also interesting to see.
How did your level up work then? So how because I was part of that. I played a bit in the arcade, and I was like, yeah, man, I'm all right. Like I knew I wasn't the best in the arcade because we used to go to some and I got whacked out. I was like, this isn't worth it. I just want to play the CPU. But obviously, in my own circle of friends, when we got it on the Super Nintendo, I was like, yeah, man, I'm wicked. I'm the best. Like I'm amazing. So how did you up your game back in the day? Were you only in your circle of friends, or did you start going in the arcade, playing against the people, and then starting to like level up with them? What was your kind of experience with that back in the day?
Yeah, definitely. We'd at lunchtime go to the chip shops and play in chip shops, and I would generally beat most people there. And obviously my friends on the Super Nintendo, that's where you practice most of the time, and we would all be pretty much neck and neck about then. And then then we go to the big arcades, so Trocadero, Las Vegas, Casino Leisure, and then you would get schooled quite quickly there, and you keep putting your money in, trying to improve. And every time you try to get a little bit better each time you play, a little bit, you learn this, learn that. I remember the first time we learned combos. I remember someone saying, "Oh, you can do a fly kick, sweep, and a fireball." And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. But no, but all together in one sequence, so they can't block it. And it kind of blew my mind when you first saw that combo happen. Because before then, you're just mashing buttons and you're maybe doing an odd fireball and odd dragon punch here and there. But to see a combo happen so they can block it, incredible.
It was nuts. But did you play Street Fighter 1 as well? Did you grow up with Street Fighter 1?
Yeah, so the chip shop down the road from my school, Chris's Fish Bar in Hackney, they had a Street Fighter 1 cabinet. It was actually only with 4 buttons, though. You had to press the 2 buttons together to get the heavy.
I never see that one. I never heard of that. Wow, okay.
It didn't matter too much. I remember, we would go find Street Fighter 2 machines everywhere, and the layouts were always so weird. Joysticks weird. Like, some would have 3 buttons, some will have 4 buttons, some will have only 2 buttons. But you play it because you just take what you get.
Yeah, absolutely. So, do you remember the horrible layout they used to have? They used to have, instead of horizontal buttons, they used to have bloody vertical buttons. What the heck? And that was quite the norm. If most of the chip shops around my area had like a vertical thing. So when I started playing it initially, like on the Super Nintendo, my buttons were vertical for years. It's only like years and years later when I started playing like arcade again. And so I played. I was only as good as my circle. I played a bit in the arcade. I wasn't great back then. I got battered. I got humbled pretty much every time I went in there. So what happened is, when I had my game shop in Walthamstow, and this is obviously where I kind of met your cousin and where we become friends. Yeah, we were talking in there, and the conversation happened. Like you mentioned, I was the best at Street Fighter. I'm amazing at Street Fighter. Obviously, I was good within my circle. So we started. The only game we had in the shop at the time that resembled Street Fighter was Capcom versus SNK 2 for the PlayStation 2. So we started playing that, and that's what really got me into that game. So started playing it, and then among a circle of friends, we were doing well. I ran tournaments. I actually managed to get a 64-person tournament game for Capcom versus SNK 2 in a lonely shop in Walthamstow. But this is without knowing that there's a pro circuit out there. So then a friend of mine, who's a friend of mine now, at the time he was a random guy that came into the shop because I had a Street Fighter cab. He played Street Fighter in there, and we were playing Capcom versus SNK 2 at the back. He came in and he was like, "Oh, I play that game," and we're like, "Okay. Hey man, why don't you have a go on it?" And I gave him a PS2 pad, and I beat him. And he was like, "I'll play on arcade stick," and I was like, "Yeah, whatever, kid." And he was like, "Oh, can I come back and play you?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, no problem." So then he came back and played me, and I was busy. So it was like he describes it as going to like a kung fu movie where I was the boss, and then instead I got one of the workers to say, "Hey, you can play this guy here." And the way he beat my worker was he battered him. Like the guy was distraught. It's like his hair was all messed up. Like it's like the guy got battered. And then I said, "Look, I'm busy," and I could see this guy was disappointed. He wanted revenge, and I was like, "All right, let's do a quick game," because I had like a big delivery came in that I needed to sort out. Obviously, I was the shop owner and we run it. That's how we done stuff. So I remember in Capcom versus SNK 2, he picked Sakura, Vice, and Sagat. And I could not beat his Sakura. He OCV'd me, which is a 1-character victory, and kicked my ass. And then I started speaking to the guy. I said, "Dude, give me your number. Let's talk." And to this day, we're friends. In fact, my kids are friends with his kids. So we're friends after that. And he told me about this whole circuit. He took me to then the Trocadero, which I knew about, but I didn't know this stuff was happening. He goes, "Look, this is the Trocadero. This is where all the top players play." Told me like, "This guy here's Ryan Hart. This is the HY. This is Chunkist." So then obviously I got involved in the circuit, got to know all of them, started playing against them. And at the time, the game that was competitively being played to a good degree. There was stuff like Alpha 3 was being played in Casino at the time, but the joysticks were horrendous. They were like analog sticks. I just couldn't do anything on them. So the only game that was being played and had competition was Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. The only thing was I bloody hated the game. It felt so off to any of the other Street Fighter games out there. The sweep, like you said, sweep into fireball. The sweep was a completely different move. It wasn't like one that went around, And I was like, this is rubbish. So I made myself like it, and to be honest, now I love the game. So I kind of got back into the arcade. I think that must have been like my mid-20s then from all of this. But yeah, that was golden, man. Do you ever go to the arcade now? Is there any arcades that you do go to from time to time?
So you got a bunch of retro style arcades. You got the arcade club venues. There's three of those: one in Bury, Manchester, one in Leeds, and one in Blackpool. You got Pixel Bunker up in Milton Keynes. Las Vegas is still there. It has a few games in there, mainly dancing machines. You got up by your way, Manor House. You got Free Play City.
Yeah, I go there from
Red.
time to time. So yeah, I do pop there once in a while when
Yeah,
the
so
First Strike guys are there.
there's a few places to go, but it's not like how it used to be back
No,
in the day.
no, absolutely not. So like Las Vegas now, right? Which one is Las Vegas that you're referring to? I'm just trying to picture it in my head because is Las Vegas the one that was on Wardour Street, or is
Yeah,
it?
and the one on Wall Street, and you go down to the basement, play the games.
Yes, okay. I thought Las Vegas still there because every time I go past that on Wardour Street, so that's the one in between Brewer Street and Peter Street. Don't ask me why I know the names of the streets, but yeah, you go into the basement for that. So the basement, the games are still there. That's interesting. I'll have to visit at some point. I thought they all just kind of went.
Yeah, they're still there. It's much smaller in terms of what the selection is. They got a Vichy Bastard Champ, and they've got a Taiko drum machine, a couple of Mario Karts, I think.
Okay.
But there's not really much more to do than, and if you're unless you're into rhythm games. Rhythm games, I feel rhythm games because of the hardware, they're still holding the arcade because not many people have good. You can't really replicate that experience at home without really expensive equipment. That's a big part. Obviously, consoles now are so powerful that there's nothing you're going to see in the arcade that you can't replicate at home. It's the hardware that changes it.
It is, and that was one of the big appeals of the arcade. It was like when you had the game at home, it was like the difference between caffeine-free Diet Coke and actually Coke with extra sugar in it. Because you'd play Street Fighter straight away, you'd notice that hold on, there's only 2 elephants in each row on the dowsing stage, but in the arcade there's 3. You'd notice like frames of animation missing, and some of them, like especially when you got slowed down and you pause it, they just look like right whack out weird. So, and this is something like I think a lot of the newer people, like my kids, will never understand the fascination of an arcade. They're like, well, Dad, I'm playing Rocket League and Fortnite at home. Like, I don't need any of this stuff, right? But that was the whole thing about getting to the arcade. You had the beefier, you had the more powerful version. It was the difference between featherweight and heavyweight. When you went to the arcade, you got Mike Tyson. When you played at home, you got like Mike Tyson after he had some kind of disease where he lost lots of weight. I don't mean to cuss the home games because there were great games. A lot of the Sega ones were really, really good. A lot of the ones that came out on Nintendo, but you had an inferior version. The arcade is what gave you the full freaking experience, man. And yeah, we just don't get that now.
Especially with especially the 8-bit days, 6-bit days, it was getting closer. Because I remember obviously when Street Fighter 2 first came out on Super Nintendo, and how close it was to the arcade. It was close enough that the experience is the same.
Yeah.
Ability wise. But before then, if you look at Street Fighter 2 on the Amiga or Street Fighter 2 on the Spectrum, it was horrendous. It was terrible.
Absolutely, it was terrible. But I remember stuff like even noticing stuff like you get in the arcade and when Ryu walks back, he's got that defensive stance, like he's walking back in. And on the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive, you've just got it forward. However, it took nothing away from the game. The game was great. It was so freaking playable, man. And everyone just kind of rinsed that out, man. But that was freaking amazing. What else was I going to say? Wow, man, that's nuts. It's good to speak. It's good to speak to another Londoner. I can't believe you know about the gas clipper thing, man. You're almost as much of a criminal as I am, man. Like, hopefully the arcade owner isn't working there, and we get like, you know what, you scammed us for £73.60 over the 2 years that you done this, and demand their money back.
I remember being in Trocadero actually. This wasn't me. I remember witnessing it though. There was
Wink,
a bunch
wink.
of lads that I think they were surrounded the. It was one of the Virtua Fighter 2 machines because the big Megalo 50 cabs.
Okay.
Big giant 15 screen, and the control unit was kind of in front of the screen. And I remember that they were there with this giant, like 6-inch screwdriver, trying to open up the money box to steal the change from there. And and they were on there for quite a while trying to wedge the thing open. And then the security came along and found them, and it was a big big thing there. Because back then I think Trocadero game credits were becoming 50p, even a pound per credit.
They were, yeah. Trocadero was expensive.
Yeah, and so for them it was worth them to trying to get into the money box and get the money change out of that. But it was Yeah, I never went that far.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. No, that's not something I did. The only thing I did was stuff for free credits. I'm going to tell you a funny story about Double Dragon, man, and how it got me beats. I think I've mentioned it in a video, but so what happened, right, was, did you ever do this, right? So there was a few occasions where, like, for example, like, let's say your mum sent you out shopping, and I'm sure you would have done this because you said you walked home and you skipped lunch in order to play arcade games, same as I did, right? So Double Dragon was all the rage when it came out, and I remember my mum giving me money to buy potatoes. And this was on very near Rowan's, the junction of Seven Sisters Road, very near Rowan's. There was a chip shop there. I can't remember what it's called. I'm thinking Ocean Breeze, but I think that was one further along. And they had Double Dragon in there. And I figured out that I had like 20p spare. Out of the money that my mum gave me. I was like, wicked, I can get the potatoes, I can get a game of Double Dragon in, and everyone's a winner. I get to play Double Dragon, my mum gets her potatoes. This is a no-brainer. So what happened is when I went over to the arcade machine, I put in the first 10 pence piece and it was 10p a credit. And when I went to put in the second 10p piece, I put in the 50 pence piece by accident. And all of a sudden, my heart sank when I heard the free credits, whatever the sound was, or, I was like, holy shit. But obviously, I'm a kid now, and I'm thinking, well, I've kind of laid my bed out now. I might as well enjoy Double Dragon. And so I played the free credits on Double Dragon. And at this point, I knew when I go home, I was going to get beats. Like this is taking food off the table for the family, man. This is a next level of addiction to gaming. But honestly, it was an accident. I just put in the 50p by accident because I guess I was an idiot. Still probably am. And then what happened is I realized that there was a surplus 10p in there. And I could actually get another credit for just another 10p. So I couldn't get the potatoes anyway. So I put the 10p in there, man. And yeah, that was it, man. So I got beats, man. I won't say anything because I don't want to get my mum arrested or anything. But yeah, I got beats for that, man. But in all honesty, like I bloody deserved it, man. How can I gonna speak to my mum? You sent me out to get potatoes, and I played Double Dragon, and that was that. And
Double Dragon was one of the first games I remember as a kid playing a lot because it really broke the mold in terms of fighting games. It kind of set the standard.
It did. It did. I'm not the biggest fan of it now, though. I don't think
it hasn't aged as well.
It's not something like Final Fight was the next jump up for me when we went from Double Dragon and then all of a sudden Final Fight came out. I was like, okay, this is nuts. So another thing I used to do was we used to have a barber, right? And this barber was cool, and my mum used to give me the money for the haircut to go get the haircut. I can't remember the exact amounts the haircut cost. But let's say, for example, the haircut cost £4. I used to take out like 20p to go and play the arcade. And when I used to get the haircut, I used to say to the guy, I've only got like £3.80, like 20p less just for the credit, because the arcade was next door. It was on Hornsey Road. And this old guy, it was a barber's called Peters. It's gone now. This old guy used to look at me all pissed off and take the money, but I proper respect him because whenever I saw him and I was present with my mum, I used to think he's going to snitch on me and I'm going to get beats from my mum. But this guy never ever said anything to my mum, not even once. So what happened was years and years later, because I moved out from Finsbury Park, I went back to see a friend and I saw the barber shop. So I went in there and the guy's son was working there. I asked him about his dad. I said, look, how's Peter? He goes, oh, he comes one day a week. So I made the point of going back to the barbers on that day. And like, I think a haircut at that time was like £8. And I got like 2 or 3 haircuts off him. And I just gave him like £20 each time. And I said, look, I'm just making up for all this I used to do as a kid. And I said, thank you so much for basically, not grassing me up to my mother and just allowing me those 20p. Like, honestly, I was almost in tears when I saw this guy because, he was kind to me when I was a kid, man. He let me play these bloody arcade games, man, without getting paid for a damn haircut. And I got a haircut and I got to play. I used to play Turtles Next Door. That's what I used to play. The 4-player version of it. It had it in this thing called Pool Calf. Did you ever have anything like that? Can you share an embarrassing arcade story like that? Well, not too embarrassing, but just the things that we did for the hustle.
I don't think it was anything that I did that was super embarrassing. I know I would again spend all my money, any spare money I had, but I didn't think I ever had to hustle any money to get extra games. I do remember playing Street Fighter with some kids in chip shop. They were from the opposite school, and obviously you were in your school uniform at lunchtime, so you knew which school kids were from. And I remember beating them so badly that they got so pissed at me. They stole my bag and ran off with it, my school bag, and then they trashed it somewhere. But it's one of the things where you turn up at a chip shop and you throw your bag into the corner near the machine, and you just assume it's fine because that's what everyone did. But obviously, yeah, beating these guys too badly on the game, they're quite upset because there's one time when you learn the special moves with Guile, the glitch moves, so you can do invisible throw and handcuffs and things like that, and having them having been beaten by invisible throw is so demoralizing because you can do a number of them in sequence, and we brutalized kids once we learned the invisible throw.
Yeah, no, that was bad, man. I wish I was as skilled as that. Well, I think we should play one day. Do you ever play on like Fightcade?
Yeah, it's been a while to be honest, but yeah, I play Fightcade for a while.
Yeah, we'll arrange a game one time, man. Yeah, that definitely needs to happen. I know we've got some. Let's have a look at chat. What we've got here. So we got Deepcore here who's saying loved R-Type DX. If I did throw my Game Boy Color across the room more than once playing it. Actually, I can tell you a criminal story about R-Type before I go too into stories. So my aunt used to take me to work in a bakery. And they never paid me. My mum just used to go help your aunt. And I was a kid and they used to leave me in charge of a bakery. So they took me to this bakery once in Hendon and it was smashing it with money. So I took my Game Boy with me and I used to blatantly rob money out the till. So I remember making so much money that day. I got £25 and I left the shop unattended, walked to Blockbuster down the road, bought myself R-Type for the Game Boy and come and played it. And to my surprise, no one robbed the shop or even robbed the till. But hey, you know what? If that happened, don't leave a 13-year-old in charge of a bloody shop. And by the way, this is the same aunt. So how I got my Game Boy DMG was this aunt of mine gave me a car. She gave me a car when I was like 11 or 12. She said, yeah, you can have this car. And I managed to sell this car. And I spoke to the aunt. I said, look, this guy is buying the car from me. And it was like, however much the Game Boy was, whether it was £70 or £90. Like this aunt of mine, even to the day, she's freaking nuts, man. She is nuts. Absolutely crazy. So that was how I got R-Type and my Game Boy, man. She was responsible. Let's have a look. Okay.
R-Type is interesting because my first R-Type was quite interesting because obviously we had in the arcades, and I didn't really see it in the arcades until much later. My first real experience with R-Type was on the ZX Spectrum, which is a solid port.
Dude, that's a wicked port. I played that. That's one of the games that made me love the Spectrum around the friend's house. Really good.
And then we got on PC Engine, and in Japan, in PC Engine, it came on 2 cards because they didn't have space on 1 card.
So I didn't know that.
4 levels on the first card and the last 4 levels on the second card. So I only had the first few card for the first 4 levels. So I know the first 4 levels of R-Type really well. Anything after that, it's a bit fuzzy.
Wow. So you had the PC Engine, right?
Yeah. So we had a PC Engine. I think we traded with. I think it was the computer shop in Brick Lane.
You mean a shop or the stall? There was a stall in Brick Lane on a Sunday market.
There's a guy called Arthur Wong. He had a little shop in the corner.
Okay. I'm not familiar.
And he, I think we traded a Game Gear for it or something like that because I think by then the PC Engine was getting old.
Okay.
So everyone was moving on, and we got a PC Engine and a bunch of cue cards, and I love the PC Engine. PC Engine's in my top 3 consoles. Yeah, Game Boy being my favorite, PC Engine, and then maybe Sega Saturn.
Okay, so I put them in different categories. So I put handhelds, Game Boy DMG without a doubt, and then for consoles, I was always torn between the Super Nintendo and the PC Engine. And someone said to me, "Look, it's really simple. Which one do you like more games on? Name your favorite games." And even though the Super Nintendo's got Super Mario World, it's got Contra on there, it's got Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and also I had like Pokey and Rocky. There's a lot of games that I like on there, Legend of Mystical Ninja. PC Engine's just got a lot more games on there, very arcadey games on there. So PC Engine is actually my favorite console. I've decided. Unfortunately, when I had it growing up, like I was the only person I knew that had it. There was a friend of a friend. So there was a friend of mine who had a friend who I met, had a PC Engine, but we never got around to swapping games. So yeah, I just had to buy games for it. And also with the PC Engine, are you in the same boat as me that when you went to buy a game for it, you had to look at the cover and decide what it was. I bought a lot of unboxed games from a place called Musical Video Exchange back in Notting Hill Gate. So they used to have a lot of unboxed games there. Oh, you've been there, yeah? So they had a lot of unboxed games. So it was like novelty. But the thing is, if I bought the wrong game, I would then trade it in and lose 1/3. So, for example, if I paid £15 for it, I'd get £10 for it the next day. So there was a lot of games that I picked and returned, but I did find classics like PC Kid. I call it PC Kid. I know the Americans call it Bonk, but I knew it's PC Kid. I managed to get Jackie Chan. That was freaking great. Bloody Wolf, Gunhead. Another game called Chan and Chan, which is known as Kato Chan and something, or JJ and Jeffers, the USA version. Formation Soccer, Dondoka Don, Legendary Axe is what I originally got, and I still remember getting my PC Engine. We only had one TV in the house, and I can't remember when I got it. I kind of have the feeling that my aunt was over and she was watching Wimbledon, so I had to wait for bloody Wimbledon to finish, man. And it's the longest juice I ever saw in my life, man. I was just waiting for her to finish with that so I could bloody play the thing. So did you ever experience buying a PC Engine game based on how cool the artwork looked on a Hue card, only to come home to realize it's text heavy and you have no idea what is being said here?
Oh, trust me, it was happening from day one on the Spectrum. You'd buy budget games, everything will go on the cover. You'd buy a magazine, and that's where you got your news back in the day before the internet. You get a magazine and you read the reviews wherever you could. But there were so many games coming out that you wouldn't have any idea what they were. So you look at the cover, you look at the name. Maybe there were some screenshots on the back if you were lucky. And you're trying to guess, is this game worth my money? And you go back and forth. And I remember going to computer shop Chicanas in Wood Green.
Yeah, they were cons, man. But everyone used them at some point. Everyone used them.
But they would get the imports in.
They would. We bought one of my best friends bought he bought Street Fighter 2, the Japanese version, and I think it was £90, and you had to buy a universal adapter as well. So they got them in, man.
Yeah, they got him. I think Street Fighter 2. I got the American version and an adapter for that.
Okay.
British Nintendo. And back then I think I paid £65 for it.
Okay.
Shopping. I think Cambridge Road.
Okay.
You'd go around hunting for the games and stuff, and the PC Engine, you'd never know what you'd get. I remember going to the. So we know CEX now.
It used to be. So I actually know the guys from Computer Exchange. It used to be in Musical Video Exchange. A guy called Bobby. There was a guy called Paul who's dead now, and a guy called Oliver. They went on. They basically took all, because Musical Video Exchange, you could go in there and sell toilet paper. They would buy it for 1/8 of a penny. So they said, let's literally remove all the crap out of it and make. It was called Computer Exchange. The first one was in, if I'm not mistaken, was it Whitfield Street near Warren Street Station? Yeah. And they had. Do you remember they had Charlie Brooker doing the Toby ad campaign as well, which is, for anyone wondering out there, that was Charlie Brooker, the one that does Black Mirror on Netflix. But yeah, sorry, go with your thing before I interrupted you with a massive history lesson.
And that's great. Yeah, exactly. That's a lot of people don't know this. Whitfield Street was, the OG Computer Exchange. And I would go there and look at the PC Engine stuff in there. Again, they would get imports in. I got my Castlevania for PC Engine there, Under the Blood, which is amazing.
Nice.
Street Fighter as well. Street Fighter Champion Edition on PC Engine, it's incredible. It's amazing.
It is. Very, very good.
Where they got about 6-button pads from there, and it was one of the things where you'd go hunt out the games, hunt out the shops, and try to find where you can get all the good stuff, and for the cheapest price as well. You'd literally go around and, is it worth this? Go to this shop because it's £1 cheaper or £2 cheaper or whatever. But yeah,
you do it as kids. You do it. Your travel card was £1 then. They used to have the adverts on the underground. The Quid Kid used to buy that. So you know what? I'm gonna say, Quang, that I reckon that during our time growing up, we probably were in like Computer Exchange or Shakana or one of those places at exactly the same time, but we didn't know each other. It's the probabilities of it. There's more chance of it. There's more. It's unlikely that it didn't happen. So that's freaking amazing. Did you ever get kicked out of a newsagent for reading a magazine and trying to write cheats out so you didn't have to buy it and you could go and try that at home?
Not for doing cheats. I definitely got asked to leave a few shops because I would just spend all the time reading the magazine. I'll probably be in there for an hour or even 2 hours, and they're like, You should go home now, kid. You can't stay here forever just reading the magazine. Either buy it or
This was how it was back then, guys. This is how it was. So you'd go into so the only one that didn't kick you out, was W.H. Smith's, because they were a mega big branch, and so you could go in there, right? Okay, confession time here. Did you ever borrow a demo disc or cassette or something that's attached to a cover of a magazine without buying the magazine from a big shop like W.H. Smith?
No, I'm generally a good boy in terms of growing up, generally. And all my cover tapes and all my cover discs and stuff came with the magazine when I bought them.
Okay. If you ever bought a magazine and the cover disc was missing, just know that cover disc may have gone to good use. I'm not incriminating myself. That was quality back then. Do you ever remember in the library they used to have a few games, and there was some that had like an ST or an Amiga, and you could book time to play it there. It was supposed to be there for educational purposes, but all the kids used to book the time to play bloody games out there.
Yeah, for sure. I remember loving the library. Again, that's where I learned the program. I got the books from the library. It'll be like 10 basic games for your computer, and you take it home, you type those in, and you're trying to learn what these magical code words meant. I spent a lot of time in the library.
Oh, that's crazy. I'll go one step deeper, right? So my older uncle, who used to give me his hand-me-downs, when he got the Atari ST, I got his Atari 800 XL. But every Sunday, because he was my mum's youngest brother, he used to live with my nan. He was gay, and he was like a college and uni student then. And I used to play the Atari ST, so Indiana Jones, the Temple of Doom, a game called Virus, Kickoff 2, like everything that came out, I used to play with him. But he told me, he said when he was, I think it was for the Atari 400 possibly, right? The one with a touch keyboard rather than actual the keys. So he said he bought a magazine, and it said in this magazine, this is a free game. There's a free game in there. And what the free game was, it was how to type this big, long, massive pages of code into your Atari 400 and a game would launch, right? So he said to me he spent all day or like hours and hours typing this code on there. And by the time he got the game to work, he was so tired he fell asleep. But obviously back then he had to turn the computer off. he said that was the free game then, man. That was freaking bananas, man. Like the stuff you'd kind of go through back there. You know what? Sorry, I was having a look at chat, and then we get sidetracked. So let's have a look. So D4, you make me want to pick up my Game Boy Color and caught up back on the modding scene. Okay, you know what? Do it, D4. Do it, and do an article on Metal Game Solid about it, because he's one of the writers on the site. Very good writer as well. Alcaro Final Vendetta is fantastic. Thank you for that. Oh, LSD. So LS Dowdle, how you doing there, Scott? I did buy Xenocrisis Neo Geo for my Mister when it came out a while back. Yeah, and you know, it's important to support the Bitmap Bureau. They are the guys that are bringing the old goodness to these new machines. And we've got Nathan Itrio saying good evening. If you're in Europe, very good afternoon or evening if you're in Europe, wicked. And okay, we couldn't get the license for Smurfs, but we did manage to get the Snorks. Okay, maybe I like the game. Okay, just gonna go through here. Huge arcade place in my town, right? Just seeing if there's any kind of questions. Default, if Quang loves R-Type that much, there's a C compiler for Atari 7800 now, and a decided lack of quality shooters. Okay, cool. So maybe that's something there. Tresuractor.
So it's one thing. When I'm looking at making games for old systems, I kind of gravitate obviously to the systems I had as a kid and had a lot of love for. I'm currently looking at making a puzzle game for Atari ST as well. But I also want to do something for the ColecoVision, something for the Vectrex, because that's just a unique machine. And I would at some point love to make at least one game for every single system out there.
Right, no, that's freaking awesome, man. Let me have a look at the last. Wow, you guys are talking more local talk. Shakana was a shop I used to go to a lot, especially when my friend got a job there. Hey, this is one of the guys that finally would have got a discount from Shakana. Shakana were the original dynamic prices. They saw if they could get more money for something, they just rack the price up, man. Do you remember computer shows at Olympia and Earl's Court? Olympia, that's the one where Docklands light railway goes, right? I think I went there.
No, the Olympia is the one near Earl's Court.
Oh, right, okay, yep,
so
sorry, yep.
ECTS.
Yes,
European
no,
Computer Trade Show was there.
I do. I went there as well when I had my shop, actually, because someone told me about it. There was a few different ones that used to. I don't think they happen anymore. Excel was something else that I went to. Sorry, so my bad there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you this as well. So when it comes to hustling, did you ever take a supermarket trolley that someone left in their front garden and you knew it had a pound in it, take it back to the supermarket to get that pound to use towards gaming of any kind, whether it was arcade or home computer or consoles?
I would do one better actually. I would hang out at the front of our local Tesco's and offer to put away people's trolleys for them so I can get the change out of it. Because I think back then it was like 10 pence. I think it started off as 10 pence.
Oh, did it? Oh no, I only remember it as a pound. I only remember it as a pound. I never remember the 10p one.
Back when it was 10p for a trolley, people didn't care about getting the 10p back. So just let this kid take the trolley for you. So I kept the 10 pences and then go to the arcade afterwards.
Oh, dude, that is banging. No, when it was there, it was a pound. So whenever we found one deserted anywhere, we used to take it back to our local Tesco's. And then what happened was sometimes you'd take it back and you'd find someone's put a ring pull in there or something, right? And you'd be gutted. So what we used to do then was we used to put the ring pull back in or put it back in, so we've got the trolley, and then we used to like hang about near Tesco's, and when someone went for a trolley, said, "Oh, do you want to take my one?" And he used to go, "Yeah, sure, here you go, take our pound," and then he used to just run off. But this game here, Sun 2, me and my brother, while we were walking around, we just got the luckiest day ever. I can't remember how much it was. If I think of a number, I think we found 9 trolleys on that day, and all of them had a pound. It was like £10, like when I was like, I don't know, 11 or something, or 12. It was unheard of. And I convinced my brother, because he was with me, so effectively he should have got half the money. And I said to him, look, let's go and get a PC Engine game, and I'll let you play it as well. And this is the game that I bought. I bought Sun 2. It's one of my favorite games on the system, and absolutely love this game.
Great.
Years and years later, I played the translation, and I finally got to figure out what the power-ups I was buying in the shop actually meant. So, wow, awesome, man. So you got the shopping trolley sagas as well. Excellent. All right, so you know what? Before we kind of start wrapping things up, because we're definitely it's been a fun stream. I don't know how much the guys at home liked it, because maybe they were waiting for more deep secrets from more deep secrets coming out regarding like a lot of the Bitmap Bureau stuff. So what we can do is we can maybe, I don't know, do you wanna round up by maybe telling us some stuff about Bitmap Bureau? Is there anything maybe we haven't mentioned about the Terminator game that you can kind of go through, and we'll kind of wrap up the stream with that, you know?
Yeah, I think in your Discord earlier, so if anyone's not joined the Discord, you should join the Discord. You should do that.
Oh, wicked, nice one.
Someone was asking about the people who work at Bitmap Bureau and if we were around back in the early days. So I started making games for myself back then when I was about 10 years old, and it wasn't professionally; it was just a hobby back then. I got into the industry itself in 2000 for making Gameboy games. And we made games for a small company called Graphic State. We did licensed games. We were doing the conversion of a driving game called Revolt.
I know
Revolt.
Revolt.
In the end.
No, okay.
But we were doing the game with color, working like that.
Okay.
And that got cancelled. And then we picked up license for Lego Stunt Rally. So that was the game I worked on, the Game Boy Color. And that was in 2000. I know Mike joined SCI, is it? He was a QA tester working on Carmageddon, if I remember correctly.
I remember Carmageddon, yeah.
Everyone's been around for a long time, and again, Henk is a legend. Henk, art director, he was making graphics for the Amiga games, stuff like Leander and a bunch of other stuff. He's been around forever, and these are, myself included, are people who grew up with it. Are hugely passionate about retro games, retro style games, and hopefully we can capture that magic and bring it forwards to modern games now.
And it definitely shows. I'll put the questions on screen that Deep Talk asked over on the Discord. So first question was, I think you've kind of answered some of that. How many people, if any people, at Bitmap Bureau worked on video games during the 16-bit era? It's obviously the people, like you said, have been there a long time. So you kind of touched on that one. The second question is, what do the development tool chains and project management for modern 16-bit titles look like? You can't just hit a publish to Neo Geo button in Unity after all. Are console titles like Xenocrisis designed to be multi-platform from the start?
So the stuff, the games we make now are developed in a tool chain that Matt has developed, and it's kind of a what's the word he uses? If you check the interview we did, the making of for Terminator 2D, he talks about it.
Okay.
But the engine he does takes the code base. It's unique to us. He develops it and makes sure the code can be ported to different systems. Obviously, you can check the limitations and things like that between different systems. So it's all very clever stuff. Mike and myself work on gameplay and game design, and so it's a higher level in terms of the technology side of things. So all the stuff that happens in engine is Matt, and Matt's a genius, along with Gavin now. And the stuff they do for Neo Geo is getting more and more complex because the games are getting bigger, and we're pushing the hardware as far as we can in terms of how quickly you can load the graphics, how quickly you can load music, sounds, things like that. So the quality, you see the quality of Final Vendetta on Neo Geo when it comes out, it's going to be above what Xenocrisis is, and then any other games we do for Neo Geo, from that we'll build on top of that, and it will be even better. So it's the quality for these retro systems will just get better and better and better.
No, that is superb. Do you, sorry, this Terminator scene on screen now is wicked. Just like at the movie where John O'Connor is riding a bike and then Arnie T1000 is it comes and grabs him off and puts him on there. So freaking awesome. And is there ever a chance that Terminator will come over to legacy devices such as the Neo Geo? Is that ever a possibility? Do you think that could happen, or is that something that's planned? Or I kind of get the feeling that all of a sudden we may get, guess what, we're bringing out Terminator to the Neo Geo sometime down the line. Unless I see something in here that's just no way the Neo Geo can do it. However, like you said, tech is getting pushed.
I think officially we announced the platforms for the systems for all the modern platforms, as you said, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, PC, and we also announced there will be retro, and that's as far as we've announced.
Okay. So that's interesting there, guys. Retro, it's a broad spectrum, but out of the retro devices out there, the ones that are kind of known for pixel graphics, the Neo Geo might be the thing. He's not saying that. Sorry, just want to say Quang isn't saying that. I'm just kind of speculating here. So hopefully that'll be awesome to get a Neo Geo version of that, because recently Urtian got released, which I really, really like. I bought it on Steam and the ROM was in there, but the ROM was encrypted. So, but then a decryption tool came out for it, which let you decrypt it. So I'm playing it on like my Mister, and I definitely thought that was a bit of a mistake not releasing a ROM for something that's been advertised as Mega Drive tech to come out for a PC first. But I guess that they would have had their reasons for whatever. I know the Mega Drive cart's coming out next year, so kind of am looking. So maybe you guys have done this the right way, unless obviously we find a Neo Geo ROM hidden in there. Then I'm telling you now, if there's a way to encrypt it, the internet will do it, and it will be out there, man. So if you are going to hide it in there, don't hide it in there. Make them native. Make them native to whatever platform they are.
Yeah, I think if you look at Terminator 2, even the trailer and the footage we've released so far, some of the effects and some of the things we're doing at the moment aren't really possible on current modern platform, current retro platforms.
Okay.
Currently.
Okay.
But keep an eye out, I guess.
Oh, this sounds freaking really, really exciting now, dude. And what's the final question here from Deep Thought? So he says, and one more. These are all techie, so feel free to skip. So if you don't like it, just skip it. Do you develop your own emulators for releasing titles on PC, or are the licenses of any existing emulators permissive enough to allow commercial use? So I guess he's asking if the games that are running like Terminator or Final Vendetta, are they natively running on the system, or are you running them on some kind of emulator? Is it your own emulator, or is it something that you're using and licensing?
So the games, so Xeno Crisis, Final Vendetta, um, they're written. Well, actually, I have to remember now. Actually, it's what Matt calls an abstraction engine. Um, it's, I mean, when we code, we don't code directly for the system. It happens in compile time. So we compile directly to the platform itself. So the games running on PC are coded for the PC. So the
Ah,
gameplay is abstracted from the code base that Mike writes, and then that gets churned out and made into PC code or Mega Drive code or Neo Geo code. So it's done in a very different way to how Earthion's been made.
okay, okay, that's interesting. So, guys, for anyone out there, like you're not gonna find the ROM in there, yeah? That's what that basically means. All right, cool. Well, do you know what, Quang? It has honestly, like, it's been a freaking pleasure, man. Like, seriously, absolutely awesome having you here. Do really, really thank you for your time and everything there. Is there anything you kind of want to show? You want to give any of your stuff a plug? I'm going to bring your game up on screen now. Let me just shuffle some stuff around. Right. Okay. So this is your latest game, Defused. It's available. There's a link to it in the chat. If I haven't put it in the description of the video, I'll make sure I get that done. But if there's anything you want to give a shout out, if there's any of your Game Boy projects that you're going to work on next that you want to mention, something to look out for, you know, the floor is yours before we wrap up this lovely chat and interview.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, please go check out Diffused. You can get ROM only or physical from Incubate Games. It's our new Game Boy, and I would love everyone to check it out. I know you reviewed it on Metal Gear Solid, Metal Game Solid,
That's
and
what I make that mistake all the time.
yeah, looked at it pretty well. We've had it reviewed on other platforms as well, and it generally gets 9 out of 10, 4 out of 5 sort of score. So I believe we made a really good game here, and if you're a fan of the Game Boy, especially, you'll see it's hopefully one of the better Game Boy games out there. Um, please check it out. As for new stuff, the next thing I'm making for myself is an Atari ST puzzle game, because that's something my childhood me has always wanted to do. So keep an eye out for that, and obviously keep an eye out for what Bitmap Bureau are doing. Terminator 2D comes out October 31st. You can pre-order the physical collector's editions from the Reef website, and you can wishlist now. Please do that. Wishlist really helps people. And please support the retro scene, because as long as you support it, it means new games can be made, and we want that to happen.
Absolutely freaking awesome. And I've wanted to say this all the time because we're doing Terminator, but you could be mine. All right, I won't even get to the next lyric because that will lead to unsubscriptions. But freaking awesome, man. Look, Quang, honestly, this is like, I've had such a blast on Saturday. Thank you. Thank you for the entertainment. Thank you for the insight. And more specifically, like, thank you for just like reminiscing on the old days. I finally found someone that knows the streets, knows the areas, knows how to foil 10p coins, knows how to get free credits out of an arcade machine that isn't grounded properly. You know the way. So dude, you're freaking awesome. We'll definitely stay in touch. Anyway, guys, look, this is Pixel Cherry Ninja and QuangDX out.